Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another day here in Bronie's world. And as per usual, my beautiful, amazing Rocky Mountain High friend, the great pharmacist Ben, we have this pre-ramp. It's a bit like a green room before we come on to record, and he gives all this knowledge out, and I have to keep reminding him, I'm not recording yet, don't you? And he goes, oh. So, anyway, here we are at Bronnie's desk again for our beautiful Ben. And today we are going to, among other things, because I want Ben to finish what he was saying before we started recording, we're going to talk about this new, which is not new, label that the medical world and not just the medical world, but the governments and big pharma are putting on what we all simply know as heat exhaustion, but they're calling it lethal humidity and trying to scare the daylights out of everyone and trying to tell us that this is the new pandemic. Well, if it's a pandemic, then they're going to try and find a vaccine for this, which, guys, let's stop the craziness before it starts. So I thought we have to have Ben share on this. So with no further ado, Ben, I'm going to hand it over to you with that and the other knowledge you're going to share with us today.
I'm not sure what knowledge that is, but I'll tell you about amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And the reason why I was just going to say this is because the reason I brought the subject up was to say how we make things so complicated. Like you can't even pronounce amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, let alone understand what it is. But when you break things down, it's all just common sense. So amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, amyotropic. A means without. It's all Latin. In Latin, A, if you put A before a word, it means without. Myo, M-Y-O, means muscle. And trophic means feeding, like a trough. Trophic, The word trophic means to eat, to feed. So amyotropic means the muscles aren't getting fed. Amyotrophic. A, no muscle feeding. Amyotrophic. Simple.
It is.
Lateral refers to the sides of the spine where these muscles are located and connected to the spine. And so you get a disruption in the energy and the feeding of the muscles on the side of the spinal cord. And this causes degeneration and hardening, sclerosis, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It's just telling you where and what's happening. It doesn't help you. Fibromyalgia. I know you had that. Wasn't that you that had fibromyalgia, Bronie, many years ago? Yes, yep. Rebecca had it also. Fibromyalgia. Fiber, muscle, fibers, muscles, muscle fibers, algia, pain. Pain in the muscle fibers. Hidradenitis suppurativa. What the heck? Hidradenitis suppurativa? Hydra, sweat or water. Aden, the gland, an inflamed sweat gland. Hidradenitis, inflamed sweat gland. Suppurativa is Latin for exudate, a pus. So hidradenitis suppurativa is inflamed sweat gland that's all pussy. And this is people who have hidradenitis suppurativa have these boils and cysts under their arms and in their neck, wherever there's folds in the body, and it's smelly and sweat and caused by inflamed sweat glands. So our diseases, our diagnoses, they're meaningless. They only tell you what you already know. They're not helpful. So how do we take care of health? We take care of health with the basics. And to do the basics, you have to understand the mechanism. So that's why I always talk about the mechanisms. Because once I talk about the mechanisms, nobody can deny it.
True.
Do you get that?
Yeah.
Nobody can deny it. There isn't one thing I say when I talk about mechanisms that a doctor can say, oh, that's not true. That's not how it happens. Baloney. They can say, well, they did studies on 150,000 people and they found that 75,000 had this, and that, and that's not true because they ate eggs for breakfast and that. They can do those kinds of things. But the mechanism is science. There's two kinds of studies and research. There's one that's where they ask you questions. Oh,
Yeah.
what did you eat for breakfast? And then how many people had eggs for breakfast, had heart disease, and that's why eggs cause heart disease. These kinds of things. They call that epidemiology. Epidemiology is a kind of study where they just do questionnaires and they ask people, or they have focus groups or study groups or sample groups, and they give half a drug and half not the drug, and then they do the assessments. That ain't science. Science is what is happening, what is really happening in the body. That's science. And nobody can deny it. And I always get a kick out of some of the Angeli folks. Rebecca, I always tease her. She stopped doing this. She says, "Nothing on this call is meant to cure or treat or blah 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 blah." You know what I'm talking about? That whole disclaimer that
Yes.
she has to do. And I tease her every time. So now she doesn't even do it. She has it recorded at the end, so I can't tease her.
Well,
She
I just put up it
you
written
did
there.
that
You don't
too.
have to read it.
Nothing is here is meant to treat anything, blah, 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 blah. You know why? That's like saying, you know what? We're just too stupid to know anything, and we're dummies. You got to go to your doctor because he has the real information. We're just a bunch of housewives and pharmacists and just dumb people who are, can't do anything. That's basically what the message is.
Yeah.
No, the mechanism is not owned by anybody. The mechanism is generic, it's human, and it's not trademarked like a disease is. So that's why I always give you the mechanisms, and you can give the mechanisms all you want. And the mechanisms aren't that hard to understand. It's
No.
basically fluid dynamics. You know what I mean when I say fluid dynamics? It's basically just fluid dynamics. Hemo meaning blood dynamics. That's what anything is, fluid dynamics. And anybody who's an engineer out there will understand that this is an engine. When the body breaks down, it's an engineering issue. Do you
Yeah.
guys get that? It's an
Yeah. The
engineering. Any
fluid's not
engineer?
flowing.
What?
Well, you were just talking about
Your
the
toilet's
fluids. No, the,
clogged.
the fluids are not flowing. It's blocked
Basically,
somewhere.
basically, it's fluid dynamics. How hard is that? You don't need to go to medical school for that. Anybody can do that. Anybody can understand that. You just keep the blood clean and just make sure you're nourished and oxygenated. And also, it's important to recognize spiritual, mental, and emotional. Those play a role for sure. But from a physical perspective, it's very, very simple. What's the number one disease smart people suffer from?
Overthinkitis.
Overthinkitis.
You thought I'd forgotten, didn't you?
We overthink. We're overthinking it, peoples. And they're feeding on it. The business model is feeding on it with crazy diseases. Now, lethal humidity. Oh my God, it's
Oh
like a
no,
monster, the
I just
dragon of lethal humidity. You know what? I don't know if you
I
know
had
this
to
yet.
ask my husband several times to repeat what he said
They're working on a vaccine
before
for
it
that.
sunk in what he was saying. I go, what?
They're working on a vaccine for that,
Yeah,
for lethal humidity.
yeah.
They're
Well,
working on it.
they're working on it being the next pandemic. That's what they're
They're
saying.
working on that too. Who knows
So
what they're working
therefore,
on?
it's
They work in the dark. We don't know what they're working on. It's all in the dark until something happens. Then it comes out.
so we're going to
Yeah.
get ahead of the game and help people stay
Yeah, let
healthy,
me let me add this one
hydrated.
thing. All the things that are going on in the world, they're a big problem for atheists.
Oh yes.
All the problems in the world today, which it seems like the world's falling apart, they're a big problem for atheists.
Mm,
You understand what I'm saying?
true, true.
Yeah. So
But
so
but
don't
truly,
fall.
what is an atheist?
I always say,
Someone who doesn't believe in anything they can't see. Well,
well,
there's no such thing as a true atheist because they believe in the air they breathe.
I call this the atheist dilemma. This is what I call the atheist dilemma. If you're an atheist, what is it that you don't believe in? What is it that you don't believe in? And you'll say, what? What is it that an atheist does not believe in? Atheist, without God. An atheist doesn't believe in God, but in order to not believe in God, you've got to believe in God so you can not believe in it. You can't
Mm.
not believe in something unless you believe in it first. So you have to believe it and then disbelieve it. And
I
that's
know.
the atheist dilemma. You can't not believe in God because even if you don't believe in God, you got to believe in it first so you can don't believe in it. Does that make sense? You follow? I call that the atheist dilemma. See if you can get your head around that. That's a kind of conundrum. Anyway, you got some questions here?
Well, so getting back to the lethal
Oh, the lethal humidity. Yeah, lethal
community.
humidity. So lethal humidity, when we sweat, what's supposed to happen, Sweat does a few purposes. One is detoxifying, and it's also kind of good for your skin. But for cooling, as water evaporates from your skin, it creates a cooling effect.
Hmm.
That's one of the ways we stay cool is the water comes up, the sweat comes on the surface of the skin, and then it evaporates, and then you get cool. However, if you have a lot of humidity, the water can't go anywhere. So you can't get that cooling effect. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
The water, in order for the water to evaporate, there has to be room in the air for water molecules to go. But when you have 100% humidity, that means the air is saturated with water. You can't sweat. So that means you can't cool. And if you can't cool, that's where you run into heat exhaustion issues. So what they're saying is that because of what do they call it, global warming, because of
Okay.
global warming, there are areas where the temperatures are rising and the humidity is going up, and the combination of heat and 100% humidity can cause a problem because you can't cool yourself off. We have a place here in the United States that I only go to if I absolutely have to, which sometimes I do. It's called Florida. I don't know if you ever heard of
Yes.
Florida, but that's
Yes.
not meant for human beings. Florida. Florida is just not fit for human habitation. Aside from the huge cockroaches that fly and get stuck in your hair, and the alligators in your pools, and walking up your lawn that are going to eat your dog or your baby, and the horrible mosquitoes and snakes and pythons, and it's just this awful, god awful place. Plus, they have the weirdest crimes that happen there. But one of the things about Florida is that it's so hot and so humid. You could go
Sounds
crazy.
sounds like you're talking about Australia.
Are there places in Australia like that?
It's like that in a lot of
That,
places in
that is
Australia.
Australia.
Oh man, I I don't know about you guys. It's pretty out there though. I will say that. Florida's kind of pretty too, and the ocean's pretty, but it's just a god awful place. And one of the reasons is because it's got a combination of high temperature and humidity. So yeah, it's miserable. And if it's really severe, like they're saying it's going to get, then it could be an issue. I'm not sure what they want you to do about it. I think they want to end global warming or something like that. I think that's what
Yeah,
that's
that
about.
they're pushing that issue, which
That's the whole issue. Anytime they push an issue like that, you know, you got to wonder. Anytime somebody really is serious about something like that, I'm always a little bit skeptical, especially if there's a lot of money to be made, which there is a ton of money to be made in global warming.
yeah. So what can we do about it? The same as we would
Oh,
with heat exhaustion.
well, you got to make sure
Keep
you're
ourselves
nutriated.
cool.
Yeah, you got to make sure you're nutriated too. You got
Yeah,
to make
stay
yeah, you got to
hydrated.
make strong. Yeah, if it's 100 degrees at 100% humidity, you don't want to be out. Do you have places in Australia like that?
Oh, pretty much. Yeah, maybe not 100, but it can get pretty high.
What's the most humid place in Australia?
Um, Probably up in the tropics.
Okay, I always thought it was kind of dry in Australia, but you're saying it's humid in the
It,
tropics?
it is it is the driest continent on the planet.
I always think
But
of
but there
dryness when I
are
think about
there are places it gets quite um the humidity gets quite high here where I live at times
yeah.
summer, but it doesn't get 100.
All right, it's not
Not that
Florida.
I'm aware, not that I take that. My husband takes more notice of it than I do. I
Do you
just
have
chill out.
cockroaches
I
that
just
fly?
have my hydration sticks, guys, and keep myself
That's right.
hydrated.
Rebound. Do you have cockroaches that fly and get stuck in your hair?
Oh yes,
You do?
yes. In some places, not all of Australia. I mean, that was the
Yeah.
beauty of living in Victoria. When we lived down there, we didn't have them.
That's why I live in Colorado. We don't have any of that stuff
But
here.
where I live in New South Wales, we do.
All
Um,
right.
and flies.
So there's nothing get an air conditioner. Can you imagine what life must have been like before air conditioning?
We don't have an air conditioner in our house.
You don't? Is
No.
it really hot? It's not really hot though.
Well, it can get quite hot, but we just work around it. We keep ourselves hydrated and use the fan. And
Okay.
yeah,
Well, I can't do it without air conditioning.
See, I grew up without air conditioning. I grew up
You did?
on a dairy
Yes.
farm, and when I went to school, once it hit 100 degrees Fahrenheit,
Yeah.
well, actually less, but anyway, they closed the schools and you all had to go home. The silly thing is, we all had to walk home in that heat.
In the heat. So they
Because
close the
our
schools.
parents were all out working the farm and whatever.
I know when you're a kid, it's different though. It doesn't matter as much. When you get
Yeah.
old, like me, I want my creature comforts, like cool.
All right.
I don't
Well,
do
but anyway, so
Anyway.
if we're suffering from this, Karen group has a question, but anyway, so does Gracie. But so if we're suffering from this, we need to keep ourselves hydrated and cool. Make
Okay.
sure we're having the 90.
Okay.
And well, we're losing a lot of salt too, so we need to keep up the salt.
I like the rebound. I like the plant derived minerals. I like
the rebound. We have loads of things that people can do to keep themselves hydrated. That's what I love about our company. If you don't like the taste of that, we've got, okay, try this one. We have a few things, and the BTT, of course. We've got to keep the 90 up.
100% BTT. And if you, another thing that people could do is first thing in the morning, a little bit of salt water, Celtic sea salt or something like that. Do you ever do that first thing in the morning?
Sam, I missed that. A question come
Celtic,
up.
Oh, Celtic sea salt. Do you ever hear Celtic sea salt?
Yes.
Oh, really? A little bit of Celtic sea salt first thing in the morning is in water is delicious. And that's another thing you could do. But I like to be on tangerine. I keep this stuff.
Well, this all came about with a young man in his late teens dying of what they labelled lethal humidity in a gym. He'd been working out and obviously not keeping himself hydrated.
Did he die?
Yes, he did. That's why it's all crazy, and he's
one person
arms that they're using him as their.
Okay, one person. It just happened with one person.
That's all we've heard about.
Interesting.
So,
yeah. All right, the model is a funnel.
We must have a pandemic.
It's a funnel. You're being pulled into the funnel, top of the funnel.
Exactly. So let's stop getting pulled into the funnel now.
Yes.
So that's kind of an easy one, really. But I have Karen, I'm going to go to Gracie first because she has a question. I know she's at work and she hopefully can. Can you unmute yet, Gracie?
I can for a minute. Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Bronie.
Okay. Could you ask your question of Ben before we go to Karen's room?
Yeah, sure. It's what I mentioned to you yesterday. I have a client and her son is about 25. He's been on the whole range of longevity products for the last 5 months, but he's having a lot of depression. He has a lot of but more down days. He's what can we do to help? Look, he's on the 90, he's on the I-26. I've just changed him onto the microbiome. Yes?
Grace. Life is depressing. What do you expect?
It's true. There's a lot happening.
Right. What do you expect?
Yeah.
He's normal. He's a normal, healthy feeling human being. It's depressing out there. Yeah. I'm being half facetious because yes, it's depressing, but obviously there's things you could do about depression. So it's easy to fall into depression because there's a gravitational pull. Gravity is a pull from large bodies, like in space, planets have a gravitational pull. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So in space, a big planet has a pull. Smaller planets have smaller pulls. But that's what gravity is. It's a pull, a force. Nobody really knows what it is, but it's a force that big things pull. Well, guess what? Life has a gravitational pull. Life's a big thing. And it will gravitationally pull you in. Unless, how do spaceships stay in orbit? How do they go in orbit? They have a huge force of energy that allows them to break the gravitational pull, and then satellites can surround the Earth. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I don't want to be too technical here, but so how do you get out of depression? You got to have like that, right? Otherwise, you have gravitational pull. Everybody out there, can you relate? You wake up in the morning, the first thing, There's this pull, right? We all have it because that's the system that's been created. So he's normal. Now, he may have some other things going on. I don't know. I'd have to talk to him.
Mm.
Digestive issues, serotonin is a hormone that if there's a problem with serotonin, you could have a problem with your mood. You could be more depressed. Serotonin is a digestive hormone. Largely, it's also brain hormone, but it's also digestive hormone too. So serotonin may be involved. B vitamin deficiencies may be involved. Hypoglycemia, low blood sugar may be involved. Maybe issues with the adrenal glands. It could be a lot of things. Thyroid issues. I don't know. I have to talk to him. There's no one thing you do for depression. However, I'm always a little hesitant, a little, not 100%, but a little hesitant to treat mental health issues without treating mental health. In other words, when you have a mental health issue, it seems to me like there's some mental and emotional things. That's why I'm always very careful to say spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, even though we talk a lot about
Mm.
physical, because it's really important not to marginalize that. It's really
Yeah.
important to recognize that it's mind body. And your body is oftentimes a product of your mind.
Hmm.
And your mind, and this is really interesting, what I'm going to say now. And, I don't know if we have questions, but this is a really, really important point. And this could be for your friend or your associate. The mind or the brain gets more feedback from the body than the body gets from the brain. So you get more, there's more information going from here to here than there to there. You
Mm.
follow me?
Hmm.
So holding your body in a certain way, taking care of your soma. In Greeks, the Greeks divided human beings into soma and psyche. Soma is the body, psyche is the mind. In our or the brain or the mind, that's a whole other story. But this part, the thinking part, in our culture, we're very asomatic and very mind oriented, brain oriented. We live our lives here, and it costs us here. So learning to control your soma can have wonderful, wonderful benefits for health, as well as for physical health or body health, as well as for mental health. And there's a lot of things you could do. For example, if you have anxiety, there is a acronym, CALM, CALM. Uh, the acronym CALM, and this for anybody who has anxiety, you can get out of anxiety very, very quickly if you use CALM, CALM. You want to know what it is? Can I tell you
Hmm.
what it is
Yes,
for? What
please.
it is? You sure? See,
Yeah.
most people when they have anxiety try to think their way out of it.
Yeah.
Thinking is the problem. Thinking makes it worse. If you have anxiety, you don't want to be thinking your way out of it because the problem is thinking, right? So you want to go somatic, and calm helps you go somatic. So calm is really interesting. Calm is CALM, C for connect, A for air, L for locate, and M for movement. So what does this mean? First, you connect. Anybody anxious out there? You feel anxious? Here, do this. Maybe we can work with somebody. Anybody feeling anxious? Who's feeling anxious out there in the audience? Anybody? Nobody?
Well,
I don't see anybody. I can't really tell.
maybe in
Okay.
Karen's room.
Oh, you don't even need to feel anxious, but you can just do this and you'll feel relaxed. Hi, Yvonne. I see Yvonne over there. Hope you're feeling better. How's your skin? Still red?
Her face is good, but she's got things coming down her arms now.
The redness is getting better. Is the redness getting better? We'll talk later. We'll talk later. I can't really hear Yvonne anyway. C, connect. Connect right now. Connect your body to where it is. So connect. I'm sitting, so I'm connected at my butt to the seat. So pay attention to whatever's pressing against your body right now. Butt to the seat, feet on the floor, hands on the chair. Just feel it. Just feel. Pay attention to that feeling. We always have that feeling. We ignore it. Air. Do 2 or 3. I do 3 breaths where you go like this, like a deep breath, and then a last sip. And you want your diaphragm activated. A belly breath. So you really want to breathe in. And then out through your mouth. A lot out through your mouth. And then do it again. And then again. You already start to feel probably. And then I do. And then L, locate. Locate your body. Touch your body, your face, your hands. Locate it. Feel it. This sends a message to the brain that everything's okay. Locate your body. And that puts you back in your body. Locate. So you're connecting, you're breathing air, you're locating. And then the last one, okay, don't laugh, but this is what you have to do. You got to go like that. Shake, 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 shake it all out. Shake it all out. Shake it all out. Shake, shake, move, shake, shake. Boom. Now, tell me how you feel.
Great.
Good.
Right? Isn't that amazing?
Great.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just once. But if you do it 3 times a day, 4 times a day for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, you'd be a new person.
Ah.
That's a good
Calm.
exercise. Hmm.
Cool.
It is a good exercise. And we can all
Connect,
be silly
air,
together.
locate, move. Yeah, you got to do that. That's the worst part. So if you're waiting in line at the bank, you might not want to do that. But there's other things. But there's other things you could do. You don't have to be.
I don't know, you
dramatic.
might get to the front quicker.
Maybe so, or get to the hospital, a mental hospital or something. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so let's take some. So I was going
Thank
to ask
you.
about the yeah, the depression body to move. There's more signals coming this way than that way. So working with the body,
Okay.
and then there's always other things too: B vitamins, essential fatty acids, and zinc, and synaptive if you want to do product. But that's how I would focus.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thanks, Bronie. Ciao.
You're welcome, Gracie. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Now, I'm going to go to Karen's room because they have questions. And hopefully they will unmute. Now, she has a question in the comments. Can you see that, Ben? What causes dark circles under the eyes, the purple,
that's a very
black color?
That's an
That's
interesting
one.
question. I don't know if this person knows this, but I actually just wrote a blog on that. About a week ago on that, understanding and treating under eye circles. So, and that was I wrote it for estheticians. But if this person sends me an email, I'll send them this little article that I wrote on that. You want to think about blood supply. You know how kids will get that. Little kids, have you ever seen little kids with purple under the eyes and baggy eyes? When do they get it? What do they have? What kind of problem do they have? When they're tired, that's one of the things. But another reason why they have it is metabolic.
When someone punches in the eye.
No, aside from that. No, if they're allergic to milk, if they have dairy issues.
Oh, really?
Purple, yeah. It's the blood is pooling up. When you have an allergic reaction, the blood vessels open. And when the blood vessels open, stuff can leak out. Fluids leak out. And so under the eyes, the skin is very thin, so you can see fluids leaking out. You can even see the pigment of the blood. That's sometimes you see purple. That's the pigment that you're seeing of the blood. So what you're actually seeing is the pooling of blood. Now, it happens to kids when they have allergies, but it can happen to older people too, either from blood stagnation, the blood is not moving correctly, kidney problem or liver problem, cardiac problem, heart problem, vascular problem. That can cause these kinds of blockages, and then fluid starts to leak, or allergic reactions. Activated immunity can do it, because it's not just kids who will have things opening up in response to an immune problem. If you have an allergic reaction, you're an adult, it'll happen also. So you want to look at it as a blood problem. Now, Grant said first thing in the morning, like if you're tired first thing in the morning, you'll also notice it. But you'll also notice if you're not like incredibly, like you haven't slept in days or anything, if it's just like, you had a bad night's sleep or something like that, or a couple bad nights sleep, you'll notice when you're walking around, it goes away. And that's because when you've been lying for 8 hours or 6 hours, you're not circulating. And so usually for most of those people, Grant, once they start getting movement, the condition will improve as the blood circulates more effectively. So you want to look at it as a blood issue. The blood issue can be the result of the immune system, leaky gut, toxicity in the blood, or it could also be a sign of blood vessel issues, cardiac issues, or kidney issues, or liver issues. Things that are keeping the blood from moving like it should. It's kind of like like a varicose vein of the eye. Baggy eye.
It's very interesting, Ben, because I knew a whole family back in my teenage years, the whole family, and the kids were my age, well, around my age, all of them had the same issue, and everyone just thought it was that's just how they
Maybe
are.
they were all eating the same food that they were reacting to, maybe.
And their dad was a doctor.
Go figure. You can also, if you want a quick fix, and it depends on how severe it is. Ice will you can close the blood vessels with ice, or you can do lymphatic drainage, or you can hang upside down on an inversion device.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, the inversion devices. I'm not
But
sure about
Tracy
hanging
was
upside
saying she
down.
thought it was the under the eye darkness was a liver issue.
No, kidney.
The liver can be involved. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I say liver or kidney. But because when the liver gets kind of clogged and congested, blood doesn't move as effectively. So it's not the liver issue per se. It's the circulatory system in the liver that's doing it. So yes, the liver, kidneys, any of the places where there could be a bottleneck in the circulatory system. And yes, the liver could be definitely involved.
Oh, very good. Karen, there's another question there about DMSO in water.
DMSO water?
Yeah, because my head's still hurting.
I'm sure that stands for something.
I'll tell you what
and then the head
DMSO.
started hurting. Why would this be?
You understand it.
There's a lot of noise.
Here's Anna to explain it.
Hello, how are you?
Hello. Hi.
Anna, you'll have to stand up, darling, because
That's
it's
the
too
Anna.
low.
Anna. Hi, Anna.
Hi, I've just been taking some DSMO a couple of weeks ago in water. DMSO.
DMSO. No, DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide. And you've been drinking? You've been drinking it?
Yes, in water. So I started taking,
For arthritis or for joints or for pain, or what were you taking for?
No reason. There was nothing. Because my friend said, "Oh, are you taking it?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Oh, how about you start taking it?"
You're pretty easy.
I thought, okay. And then I started taking it for 5 days. And on the 5th day, I think I must have put like 8 drops. And then the next day, my head just went like really like it was on fire at the back of my head. And my head's been bad ever since, like off and on. I've got this pain in my head.
I don't know if the DMSO would do that, but DMSO isn't something you want to drink necessarily, although they inject it right into the blood. I mean, it's not toxic. It's really gentle. It's used for arthritis, for joints, for pain, for healing. In skincare, we use it for it pulls things in through the skin very effectively. It's very mild, gentle stuff. You may have had it may have done something to your blood vessels. You maybe feel like a headache kind of thing, like
there's just one spot that feels like it stings every now and then. It stings.
I wouldn't attribute that to DMSO. If it was a headache, maybe there's some vasodilation things that might happen. But DMSO is pretty non-toxic. It's pretty gentle stuff. Like I said, they inject it right into your blood. So it's not. It shouldn't do it. I don't know why people drink it though, unless you had arthritis or pain or something like that. It's hard to get. It's not. I don't know of any DMSO that's available for oral use. It's usually topical.
Yeah.
I've never really heard of anybody drinking DMSO. I'm not saying it's not. It's the first I've heard of it, but maybe I've just been missing out on it. I don't know why you do it. Of course, the sulfur. I'd have to talk. I'd like to talk to the gentleman who told you or whoever it was, because I can't tell you. But I wouldn't say your stinging is related to that. DMSO is like water. It's not like stored in the body. It's water, except instead of hydrogen, it's got sulfur. Water's H2O. Right? And so replace the hydrogen, the oxygen the hydrogen with sulfur, and you get sulfur dioxide instead of hydrogen dioxide.
Okay. Right.
But technically it's dimethyl sulfoxide is what it is technically. But that's a little chemistry. Basically, if you looked at it under a microscope, it would look like, or not under a microscope, but if you looked at it from a molecular standpoint, it's very similar to water, except instead of the water molecule. Water, by the way, is an incredible thing that we take for granted. And the reason it's so incredible is because it has this really interesting chemical structure. That's has two things sticking up and then one thing, very simple. Dimethyl sulfoxide is very similar. Instead of it got a sulfur in the middle of it, and that gives it some unique properties. But basically, it has a chemical structure similar to water.
What will be causing your problem? I don't know. I don't know what's causing
Show me where it is.
Now that's a different thing. I'd want to know what the problem was.
The gallbladder.
just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. No, you can't have just a pain, a tingle in your head if it's serious. If it's just kind of like a little itchy here, I don't know. That could be nothing. But
It comes and goes, and it's like a
you have to describe it a little more. But just so you know, nobody has just one thing.
Yeah.
Nobody has just one thing. It's not how the body works. You can't have just one thing. The body this is a really important aspect of the body that in our culture we don't recognize. We think of the body as being made up of separate parts. It's not. And we have to get our mind around the fact that it's a whole thing. Everything is one. It's unified. So when you have inflammation in one place, you have it everywhere. It's not like you just have it in one place. You notice it in one place, but the body operates like a system. Everything's connected. So nobody has just one thing. So what I would ask you, and this is true, the reason I'm bringing this up is for distributors and for business people, or for, if you're helping your friends or your family or whatever, you got to get a bunch of, I know I said it before, I say it a million times, I'll say it again, it's Bob Ross in painting. You got to have multiple sample points so a picture can emerge. Follow what I'm saying? I can't see you, so I can't tell if this is making sense.
Yeah, you need to stand up again.
I can see you. So you know who Bob Ross is, the painter, Bob Ross?
No, I don't.
Okay,
No.
Bob Ross was a guy on TV. He would show you how to paint, how easy it was to paint. And you have a canvas, white canvas, and then he would put like a line in the middle of the canvas. You go, okay, there's a line, big deal. Then he put another line. And you go, wait a minute, that's starting to look like something. Then he put a third line, and boom, you see a forest. And another line, there's a river. And another line, there's the sky. And just with lines. You know what I'm saying here? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so those are data points. In order to do anything in science, you need data. And the more data points or sample points you have, if you in computer talk, they're sample points. The more data points or sample points you have, the more a picture starts to emerge. One data point is nothing. The only place a data point becomes important, a single data point becomes important, is if you have a digestive issue. You eat a food and you have a problem. That's why the digestive system is so important, because that's real-time information. Other than that, there's no way to know. So I would ask you, are you on any medication? Do you have any other medical diagnosis? Don't answer now. Don't answer now because you have to think. I don't want you to answer now. I don't want you to answer now. I'm just telling you, these are the kinds of things I need to know, so I have data points. Food, blood sugar, menstrual issues, female health issues, movement issues, dizziness, blood pressure, bowel movements. And I would ask you, 20 different things to try to get a picture to emerge. Just something in the back of your head that's a dot in the middle of the canvas, right? What is that? I don't know. It's a dot. It's a dot. You gotta tingle. So your job, and this is true for all patients and all helpers, the helper has to help the patient, and the patient has to come up with data. You cannot work in any scientific endeavor, which this is, without data. You need data. Without data, you're lost. Data is your light for you to walk through a dark alley with. Without that, you're just hitting the wall, trying this and trying that. And that's unfortunately how we do a lot of health, is we just guesswork.
I recently, just like 3 weeks ago, I did like a detox health retreat in Koh Samui in Thailand. We did like a 10-day juice fast with colonics and herbs and not eating for 10 days. And then we did fantastic.
How'd you feel?
Fantastic. Awesome. Yeah, really good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
nice.
really good.
That sounds great. How far are you from Thailand out in Australia? You're pretty close, aren't you?
About 10 hours.
Oh, it's 10 hours. Okay. Well, good deal. That sounds great. So if you have more data points, I'm happy to help. But right now, I can't tell you. I don't know what that means. I mean, I need much more information.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. So, Karen, does your room have any more questions?
Yeah, we want to know about the first question.
What?
You know, that he was asking about the beret.
The what? The
The,
first question,
it was talking about the
talking about the
beret. Is it?
beret.
Yeah, that really hard word that we were trying to that you started out with.
Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis?
Yes, yes.
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 Oh, okay. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is just another example of a degenerative condition that follows toxicity, suffocation, and starvation. Those are the three elements that cause all disease: starvation, suffocation, and toxification of the cells, which are the living entities in the body. It's all about the cells. All disease is cell disease. All health is cell health. All disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by, Bronie, dirty blood.
Yes, that's it.
This is all disease. You guys, I just simplified the entire disease process. All disease is cell disease. And all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. Dirty blood is blood that is toxic, that is not able to deliver oxygen, and not able to deliver nutrients. Starvation, suffocation, and toxification of cells ensues. This leads to cell dysfunction and then cell death. All disease. I just named every single one of the 5,000 different degenerative diagnoses that there are. Starvation, suffocation, and toxification of cells following toxic blood, hypoxic or low oxygen blood, and blood that's deficient in nutrients. Given the way we eat, given our collective digestive health issues and blood sugar issues, it should come as no surprise that we're suffering from degenerative diseases because our blood is toxic, starved, and suffocated, and that's what happens to cells. They become toxic, starved, and suffocated. They die. We get sick. So what do? You stop the stream of toxicity, A. That's always the first thing. This is for any health issue. And this is what we want to get through our head. It's not special. Diseases are all the same. They're all the same. All chronic degenerative disease mechanistically are the same. You don't need a specialist. This is why specialists never do anything. You ever who has had their disease reversed by a specialist? Ever. In the history of specialists. It's never happened. So treat your disease as the generic biochemical breakdown that it is. You stop the stream of toxicity at the level of the digestive system. You flood the body with micronutrients. This is what longevity is all about. Flooding, drenching, saturating like a wet sponge. If they were to squeeze you, you want vitamin C coming out, dripping out of you like that. You want to be drenched in micronutrients, and you want to be getting just the right amount of macronutrients and phytonutrients, plant nutrients. And then you want to make sure that you're oxygenating, which is a little tricky, but breathing is a good start. Movement is also very important. Also, I forgot to mention one really important thing, and that is starvation, suffocation, and toxification are the three elements of disease. But what I didn't tell you was there's a starvation, suffocation, and toxification lead to inflammation. Inflammation is what happens when the cells start to break down. So you starved cells, suffocated cells, and toxic cells, they're going to break down and ultimately die. And when they break down and die, the body will wall them off, creating inflammation. With a wall, that's what inflammation is. It's a wall. And so the inflammatory process is okay if it happens once in a while, but when it happens chronically, oxygen cannot get to large pockets, large areas of the body. Nutrition can't get to large areas of the body, and toxicity builds up, and this creates a downward spiral. And that gets a little tricky there, and the reason I bring it up is because just breathing and moving your body if there's pockets of inflammation, isn't going to be enough. And by the way, this is why people have so-called essential hypertension. Now, I don't know if you have it over there, but everybody's talking about hypertension. Everybody's on drugs for hypertension, high blood pressure. What's hypertension? Hypertension is the body's response to these inflammatory pockets that are blocking the blood. Follow me? The blood can't get through these inflammatory pockets or walls. So the body will try to turn turn the faucet up on the garden hose, and that to increase the pressure, so it can get through all these clogs to get to the tissues, the healthy tissues. Is it making sense? You following me? That's hypertension, and they call that essential hypertension. Why? Because they say, well, there's no known cause. We don't know what causes it. It's not like there's a bacteria or something, or there's something they can see. It's the end result of all of these pockets of inflammation that follow cell starvation, suffocation, and toxification. But it all begins with starvation, suffocation, and toxification. So you got to make sure you stop the stream of toxicity. I talk about the digestive system every single time. Every single time I talk about the intestine. How many times have I talked about that, Bronie, in the 2 years we've been doing this or whatever?
Oh, the 2 years.
A million times? I mean, how many individual times? It's not because I'm a Mr. Food guy, but that's where the stream of toxicity starts. And also, it's compounded by the fact that once the digestive systems, the intestines are inflamed, you don't absorb nutrients. That makes it worse. So then you have starvation, micronutrient deficiencies, and macronutrient deficiencies to compound the toxicity. And then you have the hypoxia, the low oxygen, and that's everything. Now, the reason I brought up that whole inflammatory cascade and the pressure issue is because it's a little bit tricky to deal with the oxygen issue, but you can start by moving, you can start by practicing slow, deep breathing, and you can start by activating the vagus nerve, the parasympathetic nervous system. I should tell you that. All the things we just talked about, that calm thing, that'll open everything up and that'll improve oxygenation. And then once you work on the first two things, the toxicity and the starvation, and patch up the leaky gut, that'll reduce the inflammation, and that will also help. So did I answer your question about ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis? It's the same as anything else. There's no special amyotrophic lateral sclerosis protocol. It's the same as anything else, which is really cool, you guys, that there's no real, you don't need, what do I do for multiple sclerosis? What do I do for glaucoma? What do I do for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis? What do I do for hidradenitis suppurativa? What do I do for macular degeneration? None of that. It simplifies everything. You get that?
Yes.
It simplifies everything. You don't need a macular degeneration protocol and a arthritis protocol and a autoimmune protocol or multiple sclerosis protocol. It's the same. Fluid dynamics, hemodynamics. Any engineers out there? Anybody got an engineering background?
No.
You should run this by. Health is about engineering. It's not about medicine.
Well, we'll have to get hold of some engineers.
All engineering. I think Karen's husband is an engineer, I thought. Is he?
No.
No?
No. No. No, he's not. But that was a great answer. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, well, a mechanic would be the same sort of thing. Our body's like a machine, isn't it?
An amazing machine, a smart machine, not just a machine, but a machine like if this was science fiction from 100,000 years in the future, kind of machine that some being created somehow, or it's unspeakable. Well,
it's not a robot machine. It's
an intelligent machine, but the intelligence is organic. It's not intelligent like a computer chip. It's intelligent like a living computer chip, like a biological computer chip. They call what they call it actually? Wetware. You have hardware, and you have firmware. The body they call wetware because it acts like an information processor, but it's alive. Oh my God. The complexity at the tiniest levels. There's a book you can get that's a picture book of something called electron microscopy. Electron microscopy is what things look like under an electron microscope. Most things we see under a light microscope. But an electron microscope can give you very, very fine granularity for tiny structures, and the beauty and the organization and the coherence of living systems at the electron level is so magnificent and so beautiful. It'll just bring you to your knees. It's even a piece of spit, the organization and complexity in a piece of spit at the electron level. A grain of salt in water is so magnificent. The cell structures is beyond description. You got to see it. Just do Google images, electron microscopy of biological systems. It is just, if you can't, if you don't believe in something divine after that, then then you are a cold person.
True. Now, Ben, before we go, because I've spotlighted Yvonne for you, and
yes, hi Yvonne. I can't really see, but your skin does look better. It looks better. Yes.
I think it's a digestive blood problem.
Oh, you do, Yvonne. Thank you. Oh, very cute. Yes, it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. That's good.
And the really beautiful good. Kevin has been helping her, I believe.
Yes.
But Kevin, bravo.
He is on, but he's hiding himself.
He's gone. That's awesome. You're in good hands.
I am here in the background.
Okay, Kevin, you're in good hands. Kevin Grundy, thank you. I knew I could. You guys are, you're blessed to have Kevin there. Absolutely blessed.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And we are just as, if not more, blessed to have you come and share with us every fortnight, because it really does make a difference to us all, and we appreciate it more than you will ever know.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So when you come down under, we're all going to give you a big hug.
Oh, I love it. Okay. I'll have to.
But it is all about the mechanics, though, isn't it? That's how I see it. And that's where you really excel and help people down under here explain how it works. Because we're all cow cockies or have some old farm somewhere in our background. You know what I mean?
That's right. You understand logic. You understand the logic of it. Kevin, do you realize it was 10 years ago that I was there?
It was
then
10 years.
2015.
That's 9 years too late.
That's a long time ago.
It's a long haul to Australia, man. It's a long haul.
Except Kevin's in New Zealand.
Oh, New Zealand. Oh my God, it's long haul. But we're 10 years older, Kevin. Where'd they go? Where those 10 years go?
And wiser. And wiser.
Absolutely wiser.
And look, I always go back to the mechanics. That's how I learned herbal medicine, is because I came through an electrical engineering background, and I just converted a whole electrical processing system. The brain and the heart being the brain and the heart, and the electrics being the circuitry, and the plastic coating being the myelin on the nervous system.
Awesome.
It just everything just connected.
Awesome. Plant-derived minerals are electrical. The plant-derived minerals are electrical. That's what gives them all those wonderful properties. That's beautiful.
And going back to your minerals and the 4 categories, just keeping it simple. As you say, there's never one problem, and 4 categories sort of shows that. Look, you're going to have more than one problem in that category because, well, the body just doesn't see it as like a name.
It's a system. You don't just have one problem in one part. It's the whole system. And that's systems theory. That systems thinking is a whole new way of thinking. And it's really the way the future is systems thinking. It started like in the 1940s and 1950s. They started understanding that everything works as a system. There's nothing that's isolated. Everything is connected to everything else, and nothing exemplifies that more than the body. And that, in a nutshell, represents why the medical model fails, because it tries to treat parts, individuals. You can't do it that way. You can only mess things up that way, which it inevitably will do. So thank you, Kevin, for recognizing that and being such a great healer and healthcare professional. You are a great healer, Kevin Grundy.
We do our best, but we're led by the best, you, of course, and you're a great mentor to a lot of us.
I appreciate that. Kevin. And thank you. And thank
so
you,
look,
Bronie.
at the end of the day, you just need to say, hey, look, I am available to come down X, Y. It's very hard for us to say. You're the one who's the busy man these days with your
100%. And I know it is
so
very difficult.
give me some dates, send me personally some dates, and I can work with you.
I appreciate the invite, first of all. I know I have an open invite, and it is on me because it's I'm running multiple businesses here, and just to leave for a couple of weeks is not really feasible. And you don't want to go, I don't want to go there for a day or 2 days. So if I'm there, it's a couple week thing. So it's not really feasible, but I know I have an open invite. And when I was down there, I didn't just work with, do talks. I did talks, of course, but I got to really connect with people and to meet people. And you don't know this, but you're different people. You're from a different culture. We connect, obviously, Americans and Australians connect, but it's still a different culture. When I went down there, I felt like it was like tweaked just a little bit. Like life was just a little slightly tweaked just a little bit. And it's different. And I got to know people, and I got to really feel that and connect with people. Like the Maoris. Remember we went to see the Maoris? I think I went with you to see the Maori tribe.
Anna here, invited her onto her marae.
Yeah. I got to see some of the coolest people, and I really enjoyed it. And I love Australians, and I love New Zealanders, and I love the country, especially New Zealand. Australia is pretty cool too, and New Zealand is ridiculous, right? And then I want to make it a trip, so don't think I don't want to. But it's a major time investment. And thank you for the invite. Thank you for the love. I feel it, as they do.
Okay.
What do they do? They
you take care. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right, we will.
Thank you, Yvonne, and thank you, Bronie, and thank you, everybody. God bless you,
everyone.
Thank you.
Let me close this out. So as I ask you all nicely here in Bronie's World, to stay safe, stay informed, be empowered, but do not live in fear, my friends. And when you're taking care of the mechanics and keeping yourself calm, then you too will be powerful, beautiful, brilliant. That's definitely very brave. God bless you all. Catch you again tomorrow here.
Amazing, Ben. Absolutely amazing. Amazing.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you